The big blue sky was not so peaceful today. Huge spaceships floated above Earth like angry clouds. They weren't from our planet. These were alien ships, and they didn't look friendly. On the ground, humans looked up with worry. Soldiers, tanks, and planes were ready to fight. But the aliens hadn't attacked yet. Everyone was waiting, wondering what would happen next. In the biggest alien ship, Commander Zix paced back and forth. He was tall and green, with 4 arms and 3 eyes. Zix looked at the blue planet below. He thought humans would be easy to beat, but now he wasn't so sure. Why aren't they scared? Zix asked his helper, Blorp. We're the strongest in the galaxy. Blorp, who was short and purple, shrugged all 6 of his shoulders. Maybe they don't know that, boss. Zix's face turned a darker green. He was angry. Then we'll show them. Bring out our secret weapon. On Earth, General Sarah stood in the command center. She was tough and smart, with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. Screens around her showed the alien ships. Any movement? Sarah asked her team. No, ma'am, said a young soldier named Tim. They're just floating there. Sarah frowned. This wasn't normal. Usually, aliens in movies attacked right away. What were these aliens waiting for? Suddenly, a voice boomed from the sky. It was so loud that birds flew away in fear. "People of Earth," the voice said. It was Zix, using a super loudspeaker. "We are the mighty Walizuo or Joannes. Surrender now, or face our greatest weapon." Sarah looked at her team. They all seemed confused and a little scared. But Sarah stayed calm. "Don't worry," she told them. "We've trained for this. We're ready." But in her head, Sarah was curious. What could this greatest weapon be? They had seen the alien ships. They looked strong, but not unbeatable. What else could the aliens have? Up in his ship, Zix was feeling very proud. He was sure his speech had scared the humans. He turned to Blorp with a big smile. "Now bring out the Kixlorbeast," Zix ordered. Blorp's purple face turned a bit pale. Are you sure, boss? That's really dangerous." Zix laughed. "Of course it's dangerous. That's the point." On Earth, everyone waited. Soldiers held their guns tightly. Pilots sat in their planes, ready to fly. Even the birds seemed to be watching. Sarah's phone rang. It was the president. "What's happening, General?" the president asked. She sounded worried. "The aliens say they have a powerful weapon." Sarah explained. "We're waiting to see what it is." "Can we beat it?" the president asked. Sarah took a deep breath. "I don't know yet, but we'll do our best." Just then, Tim shouted, "General, look." Sarah turned to the big screen. A new, smaller ship was coming out of the big alien ship. It was shiny and round, like a giant metal ball. "Is that the weapon?" someone asked. "I don't think so," Sarah said. "It looks like a transport pod." The pod slowly floated down to Earth. It landed in an empty field near the command center. Soldiers surrounded it, guns ready. Sarah walked out to see it up close. She felt nervous but didn't show it. A good leader had to look brave. The pod just sat there. Nothing happened. "Maybe it's broken," Tim suggested. But then, with a hiss of air, a door on the pod started to open. Everyone held their breath. What scary alien monster would come out? The door opened fully. At first, they saw nothing. Then, a small furry head poked out. It had big eyes, floppy ears, and a tiny wet nose. It looked around curiously, then let out a small yip. Sarah blinked in surprise. The soldiers looked at each other, confused. "Is that?" Tim started to ask. "A puppy," Sarah finished. "It looks like a puppy." Indeed, a small, fluffy creature that looked just like an Earth puppy hopped out of the pod. It wagged its tail and looked at the humans with a friendly face. Up in his ship, Zix waited excitedly. The humans must be terrified, he said to Blorp. The Cuxlorbeast is the scariest creature on our planet. But on Earth, something very different was happening. Sarah walked up to the alien beast and carefully picked it up. The creature licked her face, making her laugh. General, Tim called out, worried. Be careful. It might be dangerous. Sarah shook her head, smiling. I don't think so, Tim. I think there's been a big misunderstanding. As Sarah held the friendly alien puppy, she realized this space battle had just gotten a lot weirder and a lot more interesting. The alien puppy sat in Sarah's arms, wagging its tail. Everyone stared at it, not sure what to think. Was this really the alien's secret weapon? Up in the big spaceship, Commander Zix was getting impatient. He turned to Blorp and asked, why aren't we hearing any screams? The humans should be terrified by now. Blorp looked at the screens showing Earth. He scratched his purple head with one of his tentacles. Boss, I don't think it's working like we planned. Zix pushed Blorp aside to look at the screens himself. His 3 eyes went wide with shock. What? Why is that human holding our fierce beast? And why is she smiling? Down on Earth, Sarah was indeed smiling. The alien puppy was very cute. It had soft blue fur, 6 legs, and 3 tails. Its big eyes were a pretty purple color. General, Tim said nervously, maybe we should put it down. It could be dangerous. Sarah shook her head. I don't think so, Tim. Look at it. It's just a baby animal. Just then, the loud voice boomed from the sky again. Humans, tremble before the might of our QXIL or BAST. Everyone looked up, then back at the puppy. The puppy yipped happily and licked Sarah's face again. Sarah couldn't help it. She started to laugh. Soon, other soldiers were laughing too. The whole situation was just too funny. In the alien ship, Zix was getting angry. His green face was turning dark blue with rage. Why are they laughing? Stop laughing, he yelled into the speaker. But the humans couldn't hear him. They were too busy passing around the alien puppy, petting it, and playing with it. Zix turned to Blorp. This is your fault. You said the Cuxlorbeast was unstoppable. Blorp backed away nervously. Well, boss, on our planet, they are very scary. Remember how they chewed up your favorite chair? Zix growled. This invasion was not going as planned. He had to do something. Prepare my personal pod, he ordered. I'm going down there myself. On Earth, things were getting even stranger. The alien puppy had started to glow. Not in a scary way, but in a pretty sparkly way. Wow, said Tim, petting the puppy. It's like a living nightlight. Sarah nodded. I think it might be how they communicate. Or maybe it's just happy. Suddenly, there was a loud noise from above. Everyone looked up to see another pod coming down from the big spaceship. This one was bigger and fancier than the first. Everyone, get ready, Sarah said. She handed the puppy to Tim and picked up her gun. The soldiers formed a circle around the landing spot. The new pod landed with a soft thud. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a hiss of air, the door began to open. Out stepped Commander Zix. He was much taller than a human, with green skin and 4 arms. He looked around with his 3 eyes, trying to look scary. Greetings, puny humans, Zix said. I am the great Commander Zix of the mighty Zorgan Empire. Bow before me and my. Zix's voice trailed off as he saw the Cuxlorbeast puppy in Tim's arms. The puppy saw Zix too. It got very excited, wiggling and yipping happily. No, Zix said. You're supposed to be scary, terrifying, not cute. Sarah stepped forward. I think there's been a misunderstanding, she said calmly. This little guy isn't scary at all. On our planet, we call it a puppy. Zix looked confused. Puppy? What is a puppy? It's a baby dog, Sarah explained. They're pets, friends, not weapons. Zix's antenna drooped. But on our planet, Kixlorbeasts are the most feared creatures. They destroy furniture. They make messes. They wake you up in the middle of the night. Sarah tried not to laugh. That sounds like regular puppy behavior to me. They can be a handful, but they're also loving and loyal. As if to prove her point, the alien puppy jumped from Tim's arms and ran to Zix. It sat at his feet, looking up with big, adoring eyes. Zix looked down at the puppy, then at the humans. He seemed very confused. "This isn't how invasions are supposed to go," he muttered. Sarah smiled. "Maybe this doesn't have to be an invasion," she said. "Why don't we talk instead? You can tell us about your planet, and we can tell you about ours." Zix thought for a moment. Then, slowly, he nodded. I suppose that could work. But what about the Kixlorbeast? It was supposed to be our secret weapon." Sarah bent down and picked up the puppy. It snuggled happily in her arms. "Well," she said, "maybe instead of a weapon, it can be a symbol of friendship between our worlds." And so, in a field on Earth, surrounded by confused but curious humans and aliens, a new kind of galactic diplomacy began. All thanks to one tiny, surprising alien puppy. The alien puppy, now named Sparkle because of its glowing fur, was the center of attention. Humans and aliens alike watched as it played in the grass, chasing its three tails and barking happily. Commander Zix stood next to General Sarah, still looking confused. "I don't understand," he said. "On our planet, that sound means, 'I will destroy your home and eat your shoes.'" Sarah laughed. "Here, it usually means I'm happy or I want to play," she explained. "Though sometimes it does mean, I ate your shoes." Suddenly, Sparkle stopped playing and looked up at the sky. It let out a long, musical howl. "Oh no," Zix cried, diving for cover. "It's calling for reinforcements." But instead of more alien ships appearing, something else happened. Dogs from the nearby town started howling back. Soon, the air was filled with a chorus of howls. Tim, who was recording everything on his phone, grinned. "Looks like Sparkle is making some Earth friends." Zix peeked out from behind a rock. "You mean, it's not summoning an army?" "Nope," Sarah said, helping Zix up. "It's just talking to other dogs. It's actually kind of beautiful, isn't it?" Zix listened for a moment, then slowly nodded. "It is nice," he admitted, "but I still don't see how this tiny creature could be a pet. What does it do?" Sarah thought for a moment. "Well, let's see. Hey Sparkle, come here." Sparkle bounded over, its 6 legs moving in perfect rhythm. "Sit," Sarah commanded. Sparkle looked at her, tilted its head, then sat down on its 4 back legs, using its 2 front legs like arms. "Good boy," Sarah praised, patting Sparkle's head. Sparkle's fur glowed brighter with happiness. "Now, shake," Sarah said, holding out her hand. Sparkle raised one of its middle legs and placed it in Sarah's hand. Zix watched all this with growing interest. "Fascinating," he muttered. "It follows commands. Perhaps it could be useful in battle after all." Sarah shook her head. "That's not really the point. Pets aren't for battling. They're companions. Friends. Watch this. Sparkle. Hug." Sparkle jumped up and wrapped all 6 of its legs around Sarah in a big hug. Its 3 tails wagged so fast, they became a blur. Zix's 3 eyes widened. It shows affection, without being ordered to. "That's right," Sarah said, hugging Sparkle back. "Pets love us just because they want to. It's one of the best things about them." Just then, Blork came running out of the alien ship. "Boss, boss," he yelled. "The other Kixlorbeasts have escaped. They're loose in the ship." Zix turned pale. "Oh no, they'll destroy everything." But before anyone could panic, Sparkle let out a short bark. Suddenly, a dozen more alien puppies came tumbling out of the ship, yipping and glowing in different colors. Instead of causing destruction, they ran straight to the humans and aliens, tails wagging and tongues ready to lick any face they could reach. The scene quickly turned from tense to hilarious. Tough soldiers were giggling as puppies tickled them with their six-legged hugs. Even Blorp was laughing as 3 puppies chased his tentacles like they were toys. Zix watched all this with a mix of confusion and amusement. This isn't how I expected this day to go," he said. Sarah, who was now covered in happily glowing puppies, grinned up at him. "Sometimes the best things in life are unexpected," she said. "Why don't you try petting one?" Hesitantly, Zix reached down and patted a small green puppy on the head. The puppy looked up at him with big, loving eyes and let out a happy yip. Zix's serious face slowly melted into a smile. "You know," he said, picking up the puppy, "maybe Earth isn't so bad after all." As the sun began to set, the field was filled with laughter, barks, and the gentle glow of happy alien puppies. Humans and aliens sat together, sharing stories and playing with their new furry friends. Tim, still recording, turned to Sarah. "So, what do we do now, General?" Sarah looked around at the scene of interplanetary friendship. "Well," she said with a smile, "I think we need to find a very, very big pet store and maybe set up some intergalactic playdates." And so, what had started as an alien invasion had turned into something much better. The beginning of a beautiful friendship between 2 worlds, all thanks to the power of laughs and barks. The next morning, the field looked like a mix between a puppy playground and a science fair. Humans and aliens worked together to set up tents, tables, and play areas for the HFY, now affectionately called space puppies by everyone. General Sarah and Commander Zix stood in the middle of it all, watching the organized chaos with amusement. "I never thought I'd be running a puppy school instead of a war," Zix said, shaking his head. Sarah laughed. "Life is full of surprises. Now, let's start Alien Puppy 101. The first lesson was about feeding. Blorp rolled out a huge barrel filled with wiggling, glowing worms. "Thorxian moonworms," Blorp explained, "the HFY's favorite food." But when they opened the barrel, the space puppies just sniffed at the worms and walked away. Instead, they crowded around Tim, who was eating a sandwich. "Huh," Sarah said. "Looks like they might prefer Earth food. Tim, try giving them a bit of your sandwich." Tim broke off a piece and held it out. Sparkle, the first space puppy they'd met, gently took it from his hand and ate it. Its fur glowed brighter, and it let out a happy yip. Soon, all the puppies were munching on bits of sandwich, their fur glowing in a rainbow of colors. "Fascinating," Zix muttered, taking notes. "Their diet adapts to their environment. Very practical for space travel." Next came playtime. The humans brought out regular dog toys, balls, frisbees, and chew toys. The aliens watched curiously as Sarah demonstrated how to play fetch with Sparkle. "See, you throw the ball, and they'd bring it back," Sarah explained, tossing a tennis ball. Sparkle zoomed after the ball, its 6 legs moving so fast they were a blur. But instead of grabbing it with its mouth, Sparkle used its 2 front legs to catch the ball midair, then ran back on its 4 hind legs. "Show off," Tim said with a laugh. Zix tried next, using all 4 of his arms to throw 4 balls at once. The space puppies loved it, racing each other to catch the balls and bring them back. "This is actually fun," Zix admitted, smiling as he threw the balls again. As the day went on, they learned more about the space puppies. They discovered that belly rubs made the puppies' fur glow extra bright. They found out that the puppies could change the color of their fur to match their mood. Blue for calm, pink for excited, green for curious. They also learned some unique alien puppy tricks. Blorp showed how the space puppies could create small force fields around themselves, useful for protection in space. "Watch this," Blorp said, gently tossing a water balloon at Sparkle. Just before the balloon hit, a shimmering bubble appeared around Sparkle. The balloon bounced off, and Sparkle barked happily, clearly enjoying the game. "That's amazing," Sarah exclaimed. "They're like their own little spaceships." But the most surprising discovery came when Tim accidentally dropped his phone. Before it could hit the ground, the nearest space puppy's eyes glowed, and the phone stopped in midair. "Whoa," Tim said, grabbing his floating phone. "They have telekinesis." Zix nodded proudly. "Oh yes, very useful for fetching things in zero gravity." As the sun began to set, humans and aliens gathered around a campfire. Space puppies curled up at their feet. They shared stories about pets from both their worlds. "On our planet," Zix said, petting a sleepy Sparkle, "we always thought the beasts were too wild to be pets. We were scared of them." "Sometimes the things we fear the most are the things we don't understand," Sarah replied. "I'm glad we got the chance to understand each other." Suddenly, all the space puppies perked up their ears. They looked to the sky and started barking excitedly. "What's happening?" Tim asked, looking up. A new light appeared in the sky, growing bigger. It was another spaceship, but different from Zix. "Oh no," Zix said, standing up. "That's an Andromedian ship. They're not as friendly as we are." The humans looked worried, but Sarah noticed something. The space puppies weren't scared. They were wagging their tails and glowing bright pink, their happy color. "Wait a minute," Sarah said, a smile spreading across her face. "Zix, you said the beasts are from all over the galaxy, right?" Zix nodded, looking confused. "And they're friendly to everyone they meet." Sarah continued. "Yes, annoyingly so," Zix replied. Sarah's smile grew bigger. "Then I think we might not need to worry. In fact, I think our little space puppy diplomats might be about to make some new friends." As the Andromedian ship got closer, the space puppies started howling their musical welcome howl. The sound echoed across the field, up into the sky, a song of friendship reaching out to the stars. Human and alien alike, they all held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next in this unexpected adventure of intergalactic puppy love. The Andromedian ship hovered above, its dark shape blocking out the stars. Everyone held their breath. The space puppies kept howling their welcome song, tails wagging and fur glowing bright pink. Suddenly, a beam of light shot down from the ship. It wasn't a weapon, but a transport beam. 3 tall, blue aliens appeared. They had long tentacles for arms and big round eyes that blinked in surprise at the scene before them. "Greetings," the tallest Andromedian said. "We are here to, conquer your puppy party." Zix stepped forward, trying to look brave. "This planet is under the protection of the Zorgan Empire, but its human friends." The Andromedians looked at each other, confused. This wasn't going according to their invasion plans at all. Just then, Sparkle bounded up to the new aliens. It sat down, looked up with big, adorable eyes, and let out a friendly yip. The Andromedians jumped back, startled. "What is this creature?" one of them asked. "It's a space puppy," Sarah explained, stepping forward. "Would you like to pet it?" The Andromedians looked unsure, but Sparkle was persistent. It rolled over, showing its belly, fur glowing a soft, calming blue. Hesitantly, one of the Andromedians reached out a tentacle. As soon as it touched Sparkle's fur, the alien's eyes went wide. It's so soft," the Andromedian exclaimed. "And warm." Soon, all 3 Andromedians were petting Sparkle, their serious faces melting into smiles. But the peaceful moment didn't last long. A loud alarm blared from the Andromedian ship. "Oh no," the lead Andromedian cried. "We forgot about Commander Zlorb. He's launching the attack." Everyone looked up in horror as the bottom of the ship opened. Hundreds of small round objects began falling from the sky. "Take cover," Zix yelled. But before anyone could move, the space puppies sprang into action. Their eyes glowed, and suddenly, all the falling objects stopped in midair. "They're using their telekinesis," Tim shouted excitedly. The puppies weren't done yet. Working together, they started to spin the objects around, faster and faster. It looked like a giant, swirling galaxy made of alien weapons. Up in the ship, Commander Zlorp was furious. "What's happening?" he bellowed. "Why isn't anything exploding?" He stomped over to the transport beam and beamed himself down, ready to take charge of the invasion. But as soon as he appeared on the ground, he was met with a surprising sight. All of his weapons were floating in a beautiful spiral, controlled by a pack of glowing, six-legged puppies. His own soldiers were sitting on the ground, happily petting more puppies, and a group of humans and other aliens were standing together, trying not to laugh. "What is the meaning of this?" Zlorp demanded. Sparkle chose that moment to trot up to Zlorp. It looked up at him, tail wagging, and then did something unexpected. It sneezed. But this wasn't a normal sneeze. A small force field bubble popped out of Sparkle's nose and expanded, trapping Zlorp inside. Zlorp pushed against the bubble, but couldn't break free. "Release me at once," he shouted. Sarah stepped forward, trying to keep a straight face. "We'd be happy to, Commander Zlorp. But first, I think we all need to have a talk about peace, friendship, and the power of puppies." Over the next hour, a very grumpy Zlorp sat in his bubble and listened as humans, Zorgans, and his own Andromedians explained how the space puppies had changed everything. "You see," Zix said, "we came here to conquer too. But these puppies showed us there's more to life than fighting." "Like belly rubs," one of Zlorp's soldiers added happily. "And fetch," another chimed in. Zlorp looked around at the joyful faces of his crew, the peaceful cooperation between species that were supposed to be enemies, and the adorable puppies that had somehow stopped an entire invasion. Finally, he sighed. "Fine," he grumbled. "I suppose we could try this peace thing, but don't expect me to enjoy it." As soon as he said this, the force field bubble popped. Zlorp found himself surrounded by wagging tails and glowing fur. "Don't worry," Sarah said with a smile. "The puppies will win you over soon enough." And so, what had started as a surprise attack ended as a surprise party. Humans, Zorgans, and Andromedians sat together under the stars, sharing stories and snacks, while the space puppies played happily around them. As Zlorp reluctantly petted a puppy and tried to hide his smile, Tim leaned over to Sarah. "You know," he said, "I think we just discovered the ultimate peacekeeping force in the galaxy." Sarah nodded, watching as a grumpy alien commander was slowly won over by puppy kisses. "Who would have thought?" she said. "The key to universal peace was universal cuteness all along." A few days after the failed Andromedian invasion, things were peaceful on Earth. Humans, Zorgans, and Andromedians were getting along, all thanks to the space puppies. But trouble was brewing in space. A giant spaceship, bigger than any they'd seen before, appeared in the sky. It was shaped like a huge dark cloud. Everyone looked up, worried. "Oh no," Zix said, his antenna drooping. "It's the Galactic Council. They must have heard about all this." "Is that bad?" Sarah asked, picking up Sparkle for comfort. Zix nodded. "They don't like change. They might think we're causing trouble." A booming voice came from the ship. "ATT into Lyon, beings of Earth and visiting aliens. This is the Galactic Council. We demand to speak with your leaders." Sarah, Zix, and Zlorp looked at each other. They were the leaders now, sort of. "I guess that's us," Sarah said. A bright light beamed them up to the ship. They found themselves in a big dark room. 5 shadowy figures sat at a high table, looking down at them. "Explain yourselves," the middle figure said in a deep voice. Sarah stepped forward. "Well, you see, it all started with these puppies." Silence. The figure boomed. "We do not care about your excuses. 3 species, meant to be enemies, are now friends. This upsets the balance of the galaxy." "But that's a good thing, isn't it?" Tim asked. He had been beamed up too, still holding his phone to record everything. "Good? Bad? That is not for you to decide. Another shadowy figure said, we keep the galaxy in order by keeping everyone separate. Suddenly, alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed everywhere. What's happening? Zlorp asked, looking around. One of the shadowy figures checked a screen. It's impossible. Something is eating through our ship's defenses. On the screen, they could see something small and fluffy chewing on wires and metal. It was Fluffy, the blue space puppy. Fluffy, Tim yelled. How did he get here? They watched as Fluffy used his force field to protect himself from sparks, his telekinesis to open doors, and his sharp teeth to chew through anything in his way. Stop that creature, the lead council member shouted. But it was too late. Fluffy had reached the main power core of the ship. With one big bite, he chomped through the main power line. Everything went dark. Then, emergency lights came on, bathing everything in a soft blue glow. Our systems are down, a council member cried. We're defenseless. Sarah saw her chance. Listen, she said to the council. We don't want to fight you. We just want peace. These puppies showed us that we're not so different after all. Maybe it's time for a change in the galaxy. The council members looked at each other, unsure. Just then, the door opened, and in trotted Fluffy. His fur was messy, and he had a piece of wire in his mouth, but he looked very pleased with himself. Fluffy walked right up to the lead council member. Everyone held their breath. What would happen? Fluffy sat down, looked up with big, cute eyes, and let out a soft yip. Then he dropped the wire at the council member's feet, like he was playing fetch. For a moment, nobody moved. Then, slowly, the council member reached down and picked up the wire. I don't understand, he said. It defeated our defenses, but it's not attacking us. That's what we've been trying to tell you, Sarah said gently. These puppies don't want to fight. They want to be friends with everyone. Fluffy wagged his three tails and his fur started to glow with a soft, friendly light. The glow spread, pushing away the shadows around the council members. For the first time, everyone could see their faces. The council members didn't look scary at all. They looked surprised and a little bit curious. One of them even smiled. Perhaps, the lead member said slowly, we have been too set in our ways. If a small creature like this can change so much, maybe it's time we change too. Fluffy barked happily and jumped into the council member's lap. Soon, the serious leader was laughing as Fluffy licked his face. Well then, Sarah said with a smile, how about we all go back to Earth and talk about this over some tea and dog biscuits? And so, thanks to one brave little space puppy, the whole galaxy changed that day. Fluffy had shown everyone that sometimes the biggest problems can be solved with a little love, a lot of courage, and a really good chew toy. As they all beamed back down to Earth, Tim looked at his phone. Wait until the internet sees this, he said. Fluffy the space puppy, savior of the galaxy. 1 year had passed since Fluffy saved the galaxy. Earth had changed a lot. It wasn't just a small blue planet anymore. Now, it was the center of a new galactic friendship. In a big park in New York, something special was happening. It was the first intergalactic peace and pause festival. Aliens from all over the galaxy had come to celebrate. Sarah, now Earth's ambassador to the stars, stood on a stage. Next to her were Zix, Zlorp, and the head of the Galactic Council. And of course, sitting proudly at her feet was Fluffy. Welcome, everyone, Sarah said into the microphone. Earthlings and aliens alike. We're here to celebrate a year of peace, friendship, and really cute puppies. The crowd cheered. Humans clapped. Zorkans waved their 4 arms, and Andromedians wiggled their tentacles. In the front row, Tim was recording everything on his new alien tech camera. 1 year ago, we thought we were alone in the universe, Sarah continued. We were scared of each other. But then, these little guys came along. She pointed to Fluffy, who barked happily. Zix stepped up to the microphone next. We Zorgans fought the Kixlor beasts. I mean, space puppies were scary monsters, but they taught us that sometimes the things we fear most are the things that can bring us together. Zlorp spoke next. He still looked a bit grumpy, but there was a smile hiding under his scowl. I didn't want to admit it at first, he said, but these puppies are pretty great. They're better than any weapon. They conquer hearts, not planets. The head of the Galactic Council was last. For millions of years, we thought keeping everyone apart was the way to keep peace, he said. We were wrong. These space puppies showed us that friendship is the true path to harmony in the galaxy. As if on cue, hundreds of space puppies ran into the park. They were all colors of the rainbow, their fur glowing happily. They ran to aliens and humans, jumping up for hugs and giving kisses. And now, Sarah said, let the festival begin. The park turned into a big party. There were food stalls with dishes from every planet. Humans tried wiggle worms from Zorgan, while Andromedians fell in love with hot dogs. The food, not actual dogs. There were games too. Aliens played fetch with space puppies, laughing as the puppies used telekinesis to catch balls in midair. A group of Zorgans were trying to play frisbee, but they kept throwing 4 frisbees at once with their 4 arms. In one corner, a Galactic Council member was teaching a class on space puppy care. Remember, he said, holding up a glowing brush, regular grooming keeps their force fields strong. Tim walked around, filming everything. He stopped when he saw something funny. An Andromedian was riding a roller coaster, all its tentacles raised in the air, while a space puppy sat next to it, force field bubble protecting them both. As the day went on, Sarah found a quiet spot under a tree. Fluffy curled up in her lap, tired from all the excitement. Zix and Slorp joined her. It's amazing, isn't it? Sarah said, looking out at the festival. A year ago, we were ready to fight each other. Now look at us. Zix nodded. Who would have thought that the key to galaxy-wide peace was puppies? Zlorp grumbled a bit, but he was smiling. I still think we should have a few weapons, just in case, but I suppose puppies are better peacekeepers. Just then, they heard a commotion. A new spaceship was landing in the park. It was shaped like a giant dog bowl. Oh no, Sarah said, standing up. Don't tell me we have another invasion. But when the ship's door opened, out walked a group of aliens they had never seen before. They looked like giant, walking dog treats. One of them stepped forward. Greetings, it said. We are the Biscuits. We heard there were space puppies here who needed snacks. Everyone laughed. The space puppies went crazy, running to greet the new aliens with happy barks and wagging tails. As the sun began to set, the festival was still going strong. Fireworks started in the sky, but they weren't normal fireworks. They were little light shows created by space puppies, their glowing fur painting pictures in the night sky. Sarah looked around at all the happy faces, human, alien, and puppy. She saw former enemies sharing meals, telling jokes, and playing together. You know, she said to Fluffy, who was munching on a biscuit treat, I think we've done a pretty good job saving the galaxy. Fluffy looked up at her, his fur glowing with happiness. He gave a little yip of agreement, then went back to his snack. And so, under a sky full of stars, stars that now seemed a little closer, a little friendlier, the great intergalactic adventure of peace, friendship, and puppies continued. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes, the biggest problems can be solved with the softest paws and the waggiest tails.